Music is traditionally written on a staff. A staff consists of 5 lines and 4 spaces, which represent the different notes of the musical alphabet. The notes represented on the staff come from our musical alphabet. They are A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. After the G note, the alphabet starts over with A. This also works in reverse if you are playing or writing the notes backwards. G, F, E, D, C, B, A, G, F, and so on. The lines on the bass staff represent the notes G, B, D, F, and A. You can easily commit this to memory by using the phrase, "Good boys do fine always." The spaces on the bass staff represent the notes A, C, E, G. The phrase used to memorize these notes is "All cows eat grass." Notes can extend above and below the staff by the use of ledger lines. There are also different versions of most notes called accidentals. Accidentals consist of sharps and flats. To make a note sharp is to raise it 1 fret on the bass. To make a note flat is to lower it 1 fret on the bass. One way of writing sharps or flats on the staff is to place the symbol before the note you want to change. Another way of writing sharps or flats is to use a key signature. Simply put, a key signature is a group of sharps or flats at the very beginning of a staff line. The sharp or flat note in the key signature indicates that all notes of the same name will be altered throughout the piece of music. For example, if the key signature has a sharp symbol on an F, you are to play F sharp in place of F for the remainder of the piece of music, unless otherwise indicated by another accidental symbol. When a sharp or flat note needs to be changed back to its original non-accidental state, a natural symbol is used. Bar lines are the vertical lines that divide tablature and staff music into sections. A measure is the space between bar lines. Each measure uses an equal set of beats. The amount of beats is determined by the time signature. For example, in 4/4 timing, each measure equals 4 beats. In 3/4 timing, each measure will equal 3 beats. In 2/4 timing, each measure will equal 2 beats. The most popular time signature is 4/4 timing. 4/4 timing is also called common time and is sometimes identified with the letter C in the time signature. Another way to identify 4/4 timing or common time is to leave the time signature blank. The tempo of a song determines how fast or how slow each measure is counted. For example, 40 BPM means you would count 40 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 80 BPM means you would count 80 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 160 BPM means you would count 160 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There are many different timing notes. For starters, the whole note equals 4 beats, or 1 whole measure in 4/4 timing. The half note equals 2 beats. The quarter note equals 1 beat. These notes and timings will be explained more thoroughly as they are used throughout this video. The musical alphabet consists of 12 notes. They are A, A sharp and B flat, B, C, C sharp and D flat, D, D sharp and E flat, E, F, F sharp and G flat, G, G sharp and A flat, and A. Notice that the 2nd, 5th, 7th, 10th, and 12th notes have two different names. For example, the 2nd note can be A sharp or B flat. It is the same note, but it has two different names. The notes A, B, C, D, E, F, and G are called basic or natural notes. All of the sharp and flat notes are called accidentals. Each of the 4 strings on the bass guitar have been assigned a specific note. The 4th string, which is the top and heaviest string, is the E string. When this string is played open, with no frets, it will produce an E pitch. Each fret after that will bring you to the next note in the musical alphabet. So if you play the 1st fret, it will produce an F note. The 2nd fret will produce an F sharp or G flat note. The 3rd fret will produce a G note. Next is G sharp, A flat, then A. The 6th fret will be an A sharp or B flat. The 7th fret is B, 8th fret is C, and so on. Once you reach the 12th fret, the musical alphabet will repeat itself, starting with the E note. The 3rd string open is an A note. The 2nd string is a D note, and the 1st string is a G note. Altogether, starting with the 4th string, the notes are E, A, D, and G. On a 5-string bass, strings 1 through 4 are the same, and the 5th string is a B note. On the screen is a note chart provided for your reference. Some of the notes have been highlighted and are connected by a line. The notes that share the same color highlight are the same pitch and will aid you in tuning your bass. For example, if your low E string is already in tune, you can use the A note on the 4th string, 5th fret to tune the A note on the 3rd string open. Play the 5th fret of the E string, then play the open A string. Compare the two notes and adjust the pitch of the 3rd string to match that of the 4th string, 5th fret by tightening or loosening the tuning peg. You can apply this to the 5th fret of the 3rd string to tune the 2nd string open to a D note. Then, the 5th fret of the 2nd string to tune the 1st string to an open G note. If you're having a hard time tuning your bass guitar by ear, I recommend an electric tuner. Electric tuners are inexpensive and will save you from the frustration that comes with playing a bass that is out of tune. The tuner that I am using for this video is a Boss TU-80. To tune your instrument, pick an open string. If the display lights up to the left of center, that means your string is too loose and you need to tighten the tuning peg. If the display lights up to the right, it means your string is too tight and you need to loosen it until the meter lines up in the center. Then you're in tune. There is also a virtual tuner included in the bonus section of this video, which will allow you to match the pitch of your bass to standard pitch for each string. Playing in tune is very important for beginner bassists. You want to develop a sense of pitch as soon as possible, so if you don't already have an electric tuner, I highly recommend that you get one. Also, if your bass goes out of tune easily, or if it sounds out of tune when you play the higher numbered frets, take it to your local music store and have a guitar technician take a look at it. Chances are it may only need a few minor adjustments. Music is the combination of time and sound. By changing the speed at which a note or group of notes is played, or the length the note is held, you are controlling the timing. By playing a melody, harmony, or chords, you are controlling the sound. Melody is when individual notes are played one after the other. The melody on the screen is made of the notes C, D, E, and F. The C note is found on the 3rd string, 3rd fret of the bass guitar. The D note is on the 2nd string open. E is on the 2nd string, 2nd fret. And F is on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. C, D, E, F. The note value for each note is a whole note. A whole note is played and held for a duration of 4 beats. Our tempo will determine how fast or how slow we will count each beat. For example, let's play this melody at a tempo of 60 beats per minute, or 60 BPM. Now let's play the melody at 120 BPM. Now let's add to our melody, so we are playing C, D, E, F, and adding G, A, B, and C. The G note is on the 1st string open, A is on the 1st string 2nd fret, B is on the 1st string 4th fret, and the higher octave C note is on the 1st string 5th fret. Altogether, these notes make up the C major scale. Here it is with the tempo. Here is the same melody, but we are changing the note value to 2 half notes instead of 1 whole note. A whole note equals 4 beats, so a half note equals 2 beats. For this melody, we are playing C on the 1 count and letting it ring out for the 2 count. Play another C on the 3 count and let it ring out for the 4 count. Then we change to D in the 2nd measure, playing on the 1 count, hold for 2, repeat D on 3, hold for 4. In measure 3, we change to the E note with the same rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4 to F. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's apply the whole song to a tempo. This exercise has us playing our melody descending. We're We're starting with the higher octave C note, then B, then A, G, all on the first string. Next we go to F on the second string, E and D, and end on C, third string, third fret. The note value is a quarter note. A whole note receives 4 beats, a half note receives 2 beats, so a quarter note receives 1 beat. Starting on the higher octave C note, we will play a note for each beat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Before moving on, I would like to inform you that there are ear training and sight reading exercises located in the bonus section of this video. These exercises will help strengthen your musical ear and test your ability to read sheet music. The first exercise uses the scale we've just learned. It is an optional exercise, so it is entirely up to you if you would like to complete it now and return to this section of the video later. In addition to having a name for each note, we also have a numeric value called the interval. Starting with C as our number 1 or first interval, D is the second interval, E is the third interval, F is the fourth, G the fifth, A is our sixth, B our seventh interval, and the higher C is the 8th or first interval. This is the octave C note. It is exactly double the pitch or frequency of the starting C note. The octave is where the musical alphabet and interval numbers will start over again. This next exercise has us playing a melody from C, our root note or first interval, through all of the other intervals in the C major scale. In the first measure, we play a second interval, C to D, back to C. In the second measure, we play a third interval, C to E, back to C. Next is a fourth interval, C, F, C. The fifth interval, C to G to C. The sixth interval is C to A, back to C. The seventh interval is C, B, C. And the octave interval, C to C to the low C. The note values give us an interesting rhythm for each measure by combining a quarter note, and half note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it is with the tempo. As we learn more bass guitar theory, it will be important for us to play the C scale in different positions called scale inversions. These inversions share the same notes, but each gives us a different fingering position. We have already learned one inversion. Let's move on to the second inversion that lets us play the same exact notes in a different position. Where before we only played one note on the starting string, here we are going to play two notes on the third string, starting with C on the 3rd fret, played with your middle or second finger. Next, stretch to the D note on the 5th fret, played with your pinky or 4th finger. Now we move to the second string notes, playing E on the 2nd fret with your 1st finger, F on the 3rd fret with your middle finger, followed by G on the 5th fret, played with your pinky. Then we play 3 notes on the 1st string to finish up the scale. Start with A on the 2nd fret, then B on the 4th fret, and on C, our root note, on the 5th fret. All together, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Our final inversion allows us to play 3 notes on our starting string. So on the 3rd string, starting with our root or C note, this time we'll play it with our index finger. Next, stretch our middle finger up to the D note on the 5th fret. Then stretch your pinky up to the E note on the 7th fret. The next string uses the same exact fingerings. So on the 2nd string, we play F on the 3rd fret, G on the 5th fret, and A on the 7th fret. To finish up on the 1st string notes, we play B on the 4th fret and N on the C root note. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You can apply intervals to each note in a scale. For example, we know that from C to D is a second interval. If we play from D to the next scale note E, we also have a second interval. Next is E to F, which is the next scale note, but it is 1 fret distance instead of 2 frets like C to D and D to E. A 1 fret distance on the bass guitar is called a half step. A half step is called a flat second interval. A 2 fret distance on the bass guitar is called a whole step, which we have learned is a second interval. From the top of our scale, we have C to D, which is a second interval, D to E, which is a second, E to F, a flat second interval, F to G is a second, G to A is a second, A to B is a second, and B to C is a flat second interval. If we want to play a second interval on the octave C, it will be an octave D on the 1st string, 7th fret. The same 2 fret distance as the C to D we started with, just 1 octave higher. Our exercise has us playing a scale note, second interval, then back. It is played with the quarter-quarter half note rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you would like to spend more time training your ear to recognize half steps and whole steps, please visit the bonus section of this video and return to this section once you've completed the half step and whole step ear training exercise. When we play a melody from C to E, we are playing a third interval. This can also be called a major third interval. The distance of this interval is 2 whole steps or 4 frets. When we move to the second scale note, the D note, and play the third scale note above D, we have F, which is only 3 frets distance. This is a minor third interval. Major and minor third intervals are very important emotional factors in music. Many people view the major third as having a bright or happy emotion, and consider the minor third a soft, sad, or mellow emotion. Musicians refer to these intervals with different names. A distance of 2 whole steps or 4 frets can be called a third interval or a major third interval. A distance of 1.5 steps or 3 frets can be called a flat third interval or a minor third interval. So in the C scale, C to E is a major third. D to F is a minor third. The E note to G is also a minor third. F to A is a major third. G to B is a major third. A to C is a minor third. B to D is a minor third. Here I'm playing an alternative B note on the 2nd string, 9th fret. It is the same note as our 1st string, 4th fret. It is written the same on the bass staff. But we have the option of playing it on the 2nd string. Again, the minor third is D on the 1st string, 7th fret. B, B, B. The octave C to octave E is a major third. This is the same pitch as our C on the 1st string, 5th fret. But like the B note, we have the option of playing it 5 frets up on the next string, which is the 2nd string, 10th fret. For the major third interval, I'm playing E on the 1st string, 9th fret. If you would like to spend some time exploring the locations of duplicate notes on the bass guitar neck, visit the bonus stills section of this video and view the fretboard note charts. This will give you an overall visual of how musical notes repeat themselves on the fretboard. Now let's play our third intervals with a tempo. In the key of C, we can use our scale notes to play 4th intervals, starting with C to F, D to G, E to A. These are all 2.5 steps distance, or the equivalent of 5 frets. However, the distance from F to its fourth scale note B is 1 fret longer. This results in an augmented fourth interval, which is 3 steps or 6 frets distance. The rest of the scale uses all fourth intervals: G to C, A to D, B to E, and the octave C to an octave F on the first string, 10th fret. So for most of the scale, we have fourth intervals, which is also called a perfect fourth interval, with the exception of F, which uses an augmented fourth interval, and back to fourth or perfect fourth intervals for the remaining scale notes. Playing our scale with fifths, we have C and G, D and A, E and B, F to C, G to D, and A to E. These are all 3.5 steps or 7 frets distance, making a fifth interval, which is also referred to as a perfect fifth interval. The 7th scale tone, B, has a different distance to its 5th scale tone. The distance from B to F is 3 steps or 6 frets. This is the same distance as an augmented fourth interval. However, B to F is 5 scale notes. So we call this a diminished fifth interval. It is also referred to as a flat fifth interval. We end our run on the octave C on the 2nd string 10th fret and the 5th interval G on the 1st string 12th fret. The 6th interval, C to A, is 4.5 steps or 9 frets distance. Since it is a long stretch to play from C on the 3rd string to A on the 2nd string, let's shorten the stretch by playing the A note on the 1st string, 2nd fret. So we'll rearrange our fingers to hold C with the middle finger and use the index finger for the A note on the 1st string, 2nd fret. Up 2 frets to D, the same fingering to play D to B for a sixth interval. The next note in our scale is E. E to C is a shorter distance of 4 steps, giving us a minor sixth interval. Up 1 fret to the F note on the 3rd string, 8th fret, F to D returns to the 6th interval, which by the way can also be referred to as a major 6th interval. Up to G on the 3rd string, 10th fret, G to E is a 6th or major 6th interval. The 3rd string, 12th fret A to 1st string, 10th fret F is a minor 6th or flat 6th interval. And B on the 3rd string, 14th fret to G is also a minor or flat 6th interval. Let's run through them all. Starting on C, we have a major 6th interval, major 6th on D, E is a minor 6th, major 6th from F, G is major, A is minor, B is minor, and the octave C brings us back to the major 6th. This C is on the 3rd string, 15th fret, and A is on the 1st string, 14th fret. Since we are using the C major scale, the 7th interval, C to B, is a major 7th interval. This is 5.5 steps, or 11 frets distance. As a rule, whenever you are naming this interval, you must include the word major, because a 7th by itself, as we will learn, is a different interval. So C to B is a major 7th interval. When we move to the 2nd scale note, the D note, and play the 7th scale note above it, C, the distance is only 5 steps, or 10 frets. This is called a minor 7th interval, or simply a 7th interval. E to D is another minor 7th interval. F to E is a major 7th interval. G to F is a 7th interval. A to G is a 7th interval. And B to A is a 7th interval. Of course, when we reach our octave C, the interval produced is a major 7th when we add the octave B on the 1st string, 16th fret. So for the different types of 7th intervals, we have the minor 7th or 7th, which is 5 steps or 10 frets, and we also have the major 7th, which is 5.5 steps or 11 frets distance. Again, when naming this interval, you have to specify that it is a major 7th. Every note has an octave. They share the same name, but they are 6 steps or 12 frets distance on the bass guitar. The octave is exactly double the frequency or pitch of the starting note. Or if you are going down in pitch, the lower octave is exactly half the frequency or pitch of the starting note. So far, we have learned to play melody, which is when individual notes are played one after the other. Next, we will learn harmony, which is when 2 notes are played together. The same intervals that we have learned for melody can be applied to harmony. In fact, now we are going to take all of the intervals that we have learned and apply them to the C note. So now we will include all of the frets that we have been skipping. Since harmony requires the sounding of 2 different notes, the flat second harmony is difficult to achieve because you have to play the notes on 2 different strings, and they are quite a stretch away from each other. To demonstrate, I'll move up to the C on the 4th string 8th fret with my pinky, and stretch my index finger to play the D flat, our flat second interval on the 3rd string 4th fret. When these notes are played together in harmony, they sound very dissonant or sour to the ear. As a melody, the flat second is the shortest of the intervals. The sound quality of just these 2 notes played in sequence has a minor feel or sound. Again, playing the notes together produces a very strong dissonance, which can be defined as undesirable or unresolved. So let's move on to our second harmony, which combines the C and D notes played together. This harmony isn't as harsh as the flat second, but it is still a little dissonant since the notes are only a whole step away from the other. As a melody, the second interval has a neutral quality, meaning it can be played with a major or a minor interval. The minor third harmony is very pleasing and offers an emotional quality that may be defined as soothing, sad, or mellow. As a melody, the minor third has the same effect. The major third harmony is one of the most commonly used harmonies. It is often described as being bright or happy sounding. The perfect fourth is a neutral tone and can be played along with minor or major notes, both as a harmony or a melody. The augmented fourth offers slight dissonance, yet can be used to create urgency. For example, if you play the C scale, but replace the 4th interval F with an augmented fourth F sharp, you can increase the listener's anticipation. The same is true for the augmented fourth played as a harmony. The augmented fourth also shares the name Diminished Fifth. It is the same fingering, but it has 2 different names. An example of how you would choose which name to call this interval would depend on the other notes present in a scale or a piece of music. For example, if you were playing the notes C, D, E, F, then the augmented fourth/diminished fifth interval, you would call this interval a diminished fifth, since the natural fourth F was already present. If you were playing the notes C, D, E, F sharp, G, the interval would be called an augmented fourth because it is replacing the F note from our scale. A simple rule to remember is to avoid using a duplicate note or interval. The perfect fifth is another neutral interval which can be used in major or minor music. As a harmony, the fifth interval is often referred to as a power chord. The augmented fifth can be categorized as a suspenseful or unresolved interval. This interval also shares the name minor sixth as a harmony or a melody. The major sixth produces a subtle sound, allowing the listener to accept any other major interval. The seventh interval offers a soft dissonance, but it does not present the listener with an immediate need for resolution. This gives the music the option to build upon its melody or harmony before resolving on a more consonant note like a root note. The major seventh interval is referred to as the leading tone. It is the furthest interval from the root and is the closest to the next octave. The major seventh strong dissonance as a melody or a harmony lead the listener to expect a resolution. Any dissonant interval can be resolved by any consonant tone. The octave brings us back to the root. An octave can be double or half the frequency or pitch of any given note. Earlier we applied each interval quality to our scale notes. Here we will harmonize each scale note, which means we will only be using scale notes for these exercises. Since the second harmonies require an uncomfortable stretch, we will skip them and begin with the thirds. Applied to our C scale, which is the same as saying we are playing in the key of C, the first third harmony is major. The second, D, produces a minor third harmony. E is a minor third. F as a third is a major third. G is major. A is minor. B is minor. And our octave C is major. The note value for this exercise combines our quarter note, half note rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. As with our melody, the C scale harmonized to fourths includes an augmented fourth when we reach the F note. All of the other scale notes harmonize to a perfect fourth. The note value combines half note, quarter note for a new rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here, we will harmonize our scale into fifths. Remember, the seventh scale tone, B, produces a diminished fifth interval. For the sixth harmonies, we are introducing a new note value. We've used whole notes equaling 4 beats each, half notes are 2 beats each, and quarter notes are 1 beat each. Now we will introduce eighth notes, which split a beat into half a pulse. So instead of counting each measure 1, 2, 3, 4, we will now add the word "and" in between each count. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Starting on C, we have a major sixth, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, then from D, major sixth, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. E is a minor sixth, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and major. Major on G, minor on A, B is a minor, and C brings us back to the octave for a major. That was technically a melody, since we never played the two notes together at the same time. Here is a similar exercise, which combines sixth melodies and harmonies. For each measure, we start out playing a harmony for a half note for the duration of counts 1 and 2. 1, 2. On the 3 count, we play the root or starting note for an eighth note duration. On the and count, we play the sixth harmony for an eighth note duration. And on the 4th count, we play the root again for a quarter note duration. Altogether, the rhythm is half, eighth, eighth, quarter. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here, we will apply seventh harmonies to our scale, but with an entirely new note value called a rest. A rest produces a duration of silence in music. For each note value, there is also a rest. The whole note and whole rest, the half note and half rest, quarter note and quarter rest, eighth note and eighth rest. Here, we will combine half notes with half rests, playing the seventh harmony for count 1, hold for 2, then silence the bass for counts 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is a similar exercise playing seventh harmonies with 3 quarter notes, followed by a quarter rest. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, rest. 1, 2, 3, rest. For the octave harmony, we will alternate between eighth notes and eighth rests. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Visit the bonus section on this video for a melody and harmony ear training exercise. A triad is a group of 3 notes played together. A chord is a group of 3 or more notes played together. So it is with our triads that we begin our study of chords. A chord is made up of the first, third, and fifth interval. In the key of C, the notes C, E, and G make up a C chord. The third interval gives each chord its major or minor quality. So since C to E is a major third interval, the C chord is a major chord. You can call this chord C or elaborate and call it C major. The choice is yours. Earlier, we learned 3 inversions for our C scale. There are also different chord variations and inversions. With the C chord, we have the notes C, E, and G. Any combination of these notes in any order will still produce a C chord. For example, if we look at a fretboard note chart, we see there is an open E note on the 4th string. So we can add that to our chord so that we are now playing E, C, an octave E, and G. You might call this a C with a low E bass note. Some people choose to write this type of chord as a C/E chord. When you see a slash symbol in a chord box, the first letter is the name of the chord and the second letter is the lowest note of the chord. If the bass note is a part of the chord formula, it is not necessary to write it as a slash chord. The option is entirely up to you. Another variation of the C chord would be to include the G note on the 4th string 3rd fret, playing G, C, E, and G. You can also choose to invert the chord by starting with a different chord note in different positions on the same string. For example, our first inversion is the C chord we have already learned, using the C note on the 3rd string 3rd fret, E on the 2nd string 2nd fret, and G open. The next inversion is found by moving to the next chord note on the 3rd string, E on the 7th fret, and playing along with it G on the 2nd string 5th fret and C on the 1st string 5th fret. And the third inversion would be to start with G on the 3rd string 10th fret, C played on the 2nd string 10th fret, and E on the 1st string 9th fret. For the remainder of the chords, I will just go over the first inversion based on the root, 3rd, and 5th intervals. But once you have had a chance to experiment with them, make use of the fretboard note charts located in the bonus stills section of this video to find different extensions and variations. To build the second chord in the key of C, start with the 2nd scale note D. When we apply the 1-3-5 formula, D is our 1st, F is the 3rd, and A is the fifth. Since F is a minor third above D, 1.5 steps from D, our second chord in the key of C is D minor. To build the third chord in the key of C, start with E, C, D, E. When we apply the 1-3-5 chord formula to E, E is our first, or chord root, G is the third, and B is the fifth. G is a minor third, or 1.5 steps from E, so our third chord in the key of C is E minor. The fourth note in the C scale is F. Applied to the 1-3-5 chord formula, we have the notes F, A, and C. A is a major third, or 2 whole steps distance from F, so our 4 chord in the key of C is F major. The fifth note in the key of C is G, and when we apply the 1-3-5 formula, we have G, B, D. G is a major chord because B is a major third above G. A is the sixth note in the key of C. The 1-3-5 formula gives us A, C, and E. C is a minor third above A, so the sixth chord in the key of C is A minor. The seventh note in the key of C is B. The 1-3-5 chord formula applied to the seventh major scale note gives us an entirely different chord, called a diminished chord. Here we have the notes B, D, and F. D is a minor third above B, and F is a flat or diminished fifth interval above B. So if we want to stay within our scale, or within the key of C, our seventh chord will be a B diminished. Altogether, the C scale harmonized as chords is C, D minor, E minor, F major, G major, A minor, B diminished, and C again. Visit the bonus section of this video for an ear training and sight reading exercise for chords. Musicians often use numbers in place of chord names when introducing a song to a band. For example, the chords of a song might be introduced as 1-4-5 or 1-6-4-5. As we learned, each note in a scale has a numeric value, or an interval. C is 1, D is 2, E is the third, F is the fourth, G is 5, A is 6, B is 7, C is 8 or 1 again. When a scale has been harmonized into chords, each chord is often referred to with the same number, but it is written with Roman numerals. Minor chords may also use lowercase Roman numerals. For an example of using scale notes as numbers, let's play a 1-4-5-4 chord progression. Translated to our key, the 1 chord is C, the 4 chord is F, the 5 chord is G, then back to the 4 chord F. When eighth notes are bracketed into groups of 3, the note value is called a triplet. This divides each count into 3 pulses. We learn that quarter notes equal 1 beat and are counted 1, 2, 3, 4. Next, we learn that eighth notes divide each beat into 2 pulses and are counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Triplets divide each count into 3 pulses and are counted 1 and a, 2 and a, 3 and a, 4 and a. Here is an exercise using triplets to play each note of our chords individually. This is called an arpeggio. Sixteenth notes divide each beat into 4 pulses. To do this, we are now going to count each beat as 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Here is another arpeggio exercise. We'll start with the high C chord and descend in pitch using 16th notes to arpeggiate each chord. When someone refers to the key of C, they are referring to the natural scale, or C major, or C Ionian scale. When someone refers to the key of A, they are referring to the key of A major or A Ionian. A major is the C to C natural scale pattern, or scale degrees, but applied to the A note as the root. The distance between notes can be measured with whole steps and half steps. A whole step is equal to 2 frets on the guitar. A half step is equal to 1 fret. When you want to change the key of a scale or a song, just apply the same pattern of whole steps and half steps to the key you wish to play in. For example, the C natural major scale from root to root is made of a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, and a half step. This formula will apply to any key of music, regardless of what key it is, A, B, C, D, or any other key. This whole step, half step, whole, half formula will always make a major scale. So if we move from C as our root note up 1 fret to the D flat note and apply the same scale formula, we are now playing a D flat major scale. If we move up 1 more fret and apply the same formula, we are in the key of D. The next note on the 6th fret of the 3rd string is an E flat note. So this is the key of E flat or the E flat scale. The 7th fret of the 3rd string brings us to an E note or an E major scale. The 8th fret is F. The 9th fret is F sharp. The 10th fret is G. The 11th fret is G sharp. The 12th fret is A. The 13th fret is B flat. The 14th fret is B. And the 15th fret is the C octave. I'd also like to demonstrate that some of these patterns repeat in the open position as well. For example, the 12th fret was an A note. Our 3rd string open is an A note. So if we apply the same formula of half steps and whole steps, we have an A major scale. Applied to the 1st fret, we have another way to play our B flat major scale. The 2nd fret is B. And as we know, the 3rd fret is C. When we change keys, we are adding sharp and flat notes. Instead of writing a sharp or flat symbol in front of each altered note, we can use a sharp or flat in the key signature to specify which scale to use. For example, one sharp note in the key signature tells us that the music is in the key of G, because the G scale only uses one sharp: G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, then G. A key signature with two sharp notes indicates the key of D, which uses the notes D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. The key of A uses 3 sharps. The key of E uses 4 sharps. For your benefit, the following sections teach you to play a melody, harmony, and triads in every key of music. Although we have already learned the key of C, I will still include it here so you can use this section to practice playing in all keys of music. An image called the circle of fifths has been used for ages to help musicians remember the names of each key signature. The top center of the circle of fifths represents the key of C, which uses no sharps or flats in the key signature. This location on the circle of fifths can be considered the zero position. As we move clockwise from the 0 or C position, each position will represent a note one perfect fifth interval up in pitch. And that position will tell you how many sharp notes are in its key signature. So from C in the 0 position, the next space will represent the G note, or the key of G, which uses one sharp in the key signature. A perfect fifth up from G is a D note, which uses two sharps in the key signature. A perfect fifth from D is A, which uses three sharps in the key signature. Up another fifth, we have the key of E using four sharps. A fifth up, and we have the key of B using five sharps. The next fifth interval brings us to F sharp with six sharps in the key signature. And the next fifth interval brings us to C sharp, a key that uses seven sharp notes. There are seven sharp key signatures and seven flat key signatures. Let's back up to the B spot on the circle of fifths. Starting at this location, there is an enharmonic key that shares the same tones of the key of B, but they all have different names. This enharmonic key is called the key of C flat. Technically, there is no C flat note in the musical alphabet because there are no sharp or flat notes between B and C. However, in rare cases, there are instances where the writer does in fact need to consider the key as C flat instead of B, in which case the key signature will use seven flat notes. In the circle of fifths, the flat keys are written inside the circle, and any enharmonic keys will line up as with the case of the key of B and the key of C flat. From C flat, if we move up a fifth, we will reach the G flat note. For the flat keys, we will count down in our key signature, so the key of G flat uses six flat notes. Up another fifth, and we are at the key of D flat using five flat notes in the key signature. A fifth up, and we have the key of A flat with four flat notes. Up a fifth to E flat with three flat notes in the key signature. Another fifth brings us to B flat with two flat notes in the key signature. From B flat, up a fifth in pitch brings us to F, which uses one flat in the key signature. And finally, F brings us back to the key of C, which completes the circle of fifths. Now that we have learned to play in each musical key, let's go over some advanced theory. We know a chord is made up of three or more notes. The formula for a triad is to use the first, third, and fifth interval. The next chord extension above a triad is to build a seventh chord consisting of the first, third, fifth, and seventh interval. In the key of C, the 1 or C chord would build a major seventh chord because the B note is a major seventh distance from C. So again, the formula for a seventh chord is the first, third, fifth, and seventh, or C, E, G, and B. Technically, a chord is when you play all of the notes together. That is very difficult to do on a bass guitar, so it's common for bass players to arpeggiate seventh chords. The 2 chord in the key of C would build a D minor 7. When we combine the 1, 3, 5, 7 intervals, we have D, F, A, and C. The 3 chord also produces a minor 7. In this case, it's an E minor 7, E, G, B, and D. The 4 chord will build an F major 7, F, A, C, E. The 5 chord is a major chord, G, but the 7th, A, is the same distance as a minor 7th interval. Since G is not a minor chord, when we add the A note, The 5 chord in any key will be called a dominant 7th chord, or you can simply call this a 7th chord. G, B, D, and F. The 6th chord is A minor 7. A, C, E, and G. The 7th chord is a B diminished chord. When we add the 7th interval, A, the B diminished becomes a B minor 7 flat 5 chord. So far, we have learned intervals starting with the root up to its octave. There are also compound intervals that allow you to count higher than 7. For example, the octave of the root can be called the 8th interval in addition to the 1st interval. We know that D is the 2nd interval. However, it can also be considered the 9th as well. The reason for using a 9th interval is to build a 5-tone chord beyond 7th chords. When we combine the 1st, 3rd, 5th, 7th, and 9th intervals, we now have 9 chords. In the key of C, the 1 chord made up of C, E, G, B, and D will create a C major 9 chord. C, E, G, B, D. The 2 chord will be a D minor 9. D, F, A, C, E. The 3 chord is a little different. If you recall from our introduction to intervals, the distance between E and F is a half step. So when we use compound intervals to extend chords, the distance between E and the 2nd F note is a flat 9 interval. Therefore, when harmonizing the 3 chord as a 9th chord, we end up with an E minor 7 flat 9 chord, using the notes E, G, B, D, and F. In theory, this chord is often altered by raising the F note to an F sharp and played as an E minor 9 chord. The 4 chord builds an F major 9, F, A, C, E, G. The 5 chord is a G9, G, B, D, F, A. The 6 chord is an A minor 9, A, C, E, G, B. And the 7 chord is a B minor 7, flat 9, flat 5, B, D, F, A, C. In theory, the 7th chord is often altered, raising the flat 9 interval C to a major 9th, C sharp. The new chord becomes B minor 9, flat 5, B, D, F, A, C sharp. There are no 10th or 12th chords in music theory. Since the basic foundation of a chord is the 1, 3, 5 intervals, when you compound these intervals, these notes are already present. E is our 3rd, so in compound intervals, E is also the 10th. And G is our 5th, which is the same as the 12th in compound intervals. To use scale notes to build the C 11th chord, we will create a C major 11th. C, E, G, B, D, F. This chord is often altered by raising the 11th interval, or F note, to a sharp 11, or F sharp note, resulting in a C major 9 sharp 11 chord. The 2 chord, D, will build a D minor 11, D, F, A, C, E, G. The 3 chord is an E minor 11 flat 9 when sticking with the scale notes, E, G, B, D, F, A. It is often altered to an E minor 11 by raising the 9th interval to F sharp. The 4 chord creates F major 9 sharp 11, F, A, C, E, G, B. The 5 chord is G11, G, B, D, F, A, C. It is often altered to a G9 sharp 11, G, B, D, F, A, C sharp. The sixth chord is A minor 11, A, C, E, G, B, D. The seventh chord creates a B minor 11, flat 9, flat 5, B, D, F, A, C, E. This chord is often altered to B minor 11, flat 5, B, D, F, A, C sharp, E. For guitar music, 13th chords usually do not include the 11th interval. When it does, the chord name must list the type of 11th interval used. For example, if the 1 chord included a sharp 11th interval, you would call the chord a C major 13 sharp 11. If the 11th interval is not specific, as in C major 13, you will omit the 11th interval. So our 1 chord will be a C major 13, made of a C, E, G, B, D, A. When a chord is lacking a third interval, it is considered a suspended chord. The lack of a third interval creates a neutral feel to the chord because it is not major or minor. A suspended second chord, or 5 add 2 chord, uses the 1, 2, and 5 interval. Applied to C, this is C, D, and G. The combined intervals 1, 4, and 5 make a suspended 4 chord, or a sus4 chord. Applied to C, this is C, F, and G. You can also suspend 7 through 13 chords by simply eliminating the third interval and replacing it with a fourth interval. By taking an existing triad and adding a second interval, you are creating a second or add 2 chord. The C2 chord would consist of C, D, E, and G. A triad plus a sixth interval will make a sixth chord. For example, C6 is C, E, G, and A. By playing a sixth chord and adding the second or ninth interval, the chord becomes 6/9. To be a 6/9 chord, the seventh interval cannot be present. C6/9 would be C, D, E, G, and A. We've learned note values up to 16th notes. The next value above 16th notes is 32nd notes. Many people find it easiest to use the same count as they would for 16th notes, but play 2 notes for each pulse counted. For example, playing 16th notes, you would count 1 E and a, 2 E and a. When playing 32nd notes, keep the same count, but play 2 notes each time you count. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Another method is to count each pulse. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Or 1 counting 32nd notes, 2 counting 32nd notes, and so on. Generally, you would practice this very slow, and once you have the hang of it, you would play the piece at normal speed without counting anything above 16th notes. For your reference, there are note values above 32nd notes, such as the 64th note. These exercises will help strengthen your musical ear and test your ability to read sheet music. The first exercise uses the C major scale. This will help you in 2 ways. First, it is an ear training exercise, which will help you strengthen your musical ear. Second, it also acts as a sight reading exercise, so you can practice reading sheet music. For this exercise, we will only use the first string notes from the C major scale, notes G, A, B, and C. The video of me will cut off your screen, but you will hear me repeat a random note from the scale. While my note rings out, try to match it on your bass guitar. Remember, we are only using notes G, A, B, and C on the first string. So by comparing those 4 notes against mine, you should be able to match what I am playing. The third time I play a note, the sheet music for the note will appear on the screen. At this time, if you haven't matched the note by ear, the sheet music will give you another hint. The fifth time I play the note, the video of me playing will reappear and the location of the note will be revealed. Give it your best shot, and don't worry if you cannot match all of these notes right away. Ear training takes time, so you may have to repeat this exercise several times to get it right. If this has given you trouble, move on through the rest of the video and come back to the ear training sections later. Now we will use the lower half of our C scale, using C on the third string, along with the second string notes D, E, and F. For this exercise, we will use notes from the entire C scale. We learned that a half step on a guitar is 1 fret distance, and a whole step is 2. In this next ear training exercise, I will play a scale note 2 times, giving you time to match it on your guitar. Then I will play the note with the melody of either a half step or whole step. It is up to you to match this melody by playing along with me as I repeat the notes. The third time I play the note, sheet music will appear on the screen. The fifth time, my video will reappear, revealing the note and the melody. Here I will play the starting note, then an interval, and back to the starting note for 2 repetitions. Then I'll play the same notes together as a harmony for 2 repetitions. Try your best to match these intervals on your bass guitar. For our chord ear training exercises, I'll first arpeggiate a random chord from the key of C, starting with the root, third, and fifth interval. Then I'll strum the whole chord, then I'll repeat it. Try to match what I'm playing as quickly as possible. For more guitar and bass instruction material, please visit www.mjspublications.com. There you will find information on our best-selling Total Scales Techniques and Applications series, now available in DVD format for guitar and bass guitar. Our Easy DVD series for guitar and bass, including Easy Theory, Easy Scales, and Easy Chords. Our Beginner series, DVD number 1, Beginner Basics and Beyond, for guitar and bass guitar. And our complete Bass Guitar by Ear CD series, teaching essential music theory simply by listening and playing along with your bass guitar. This title is also available for guitar. For these and many other exciting methods, please visit